Hey Lash Pros, Mandy Jacobella is here today with LAshX, and I have special guest Melissa Lincoln. She's our social media expert here at LAshX. And today we're gonna both share some tips and tricks to help you guys get better lash photos and how to edit them for Instagram and other social media sites. So there's really 3 keys to great photos when you're taking them, and that's great lighting, having a real camera, and then the right angles. So I'm gonna explain that to you, and then Melissa's gonna get a little bit into how she tweaks them. So the most important thing, I really recommend using a real camera. When I'm in a pinch, I do use my iPhone and it can take some pretty great shots, but having the real camera will really allow you to get very detailed photos of the lash work. Now I know the new, what is it, iPhone 27s or whatever they are. They have like 3 cameras. I haven't tried that yet, but I do prefer this Sony, and it's not expensive. Honestly, I don't know that much about cameras. This is a GSLR that I got at, I think, Target or something like that. And I have a flash on it, and I pretty much keep it in auto. I know very little about photography, so this is coming from not an expert, but how I get the great shots. So hopefully, if you're not a camera expert, you can also get good shots. So basically, I have a good camera, and then I wanna make sure I have the right lighting. So my first choice in lighting is always daylight. So if it is a sunny day, I actually open up my windows behind, and I would have my client face the daylight and use that for the photos. I find that's the very best lighting to see the detail. If that's not an option, then I opt for these ring lights, and you can get this. I'll put a link below. You can actually pick this up on Amazon, and I think they're like $80, $90. They're not too expensive. What's great about the ring light, it has different settings. So you can go from warm to cool, and you can choose the amount of light. I find the best way to get a great picture is turning off the overheads and then using the ring light alone. So you get a really great light. You will sometimes see the little ring in the pupil of the eye. So if you have multiple lights, you can kind of angle it so that that doesn't happen. Otherwise, you're gonna have the little halo. But if you're showing off your lash work, I don't think it's that big a deal. So the ring light's second choice, and then if that's not available or I don't feel like that's working great, I will use the flash. And instead of putting the flash directly on my model, I actually bounce it. So I usually like to, if I have a white wall behind me, I'll bounce it off a white wall so it reflects onto the model, so I get a lot of lighting without a direct glare in their eye that's too washes them too much out. So that's my tricks for lighting. And then for angles, there's really 3 popular angles that people like to see. One is we lay down for a minute. One is from behind, showing the actual lash work. So for that, I would actually take the photo from here and get the artwork of the lashes. So that's the first angle. Sometimes I'll angle it from this way to get the profile of the lash or the curl of the lash. And then go ahead and sit up, Melissa. Obviously, straight on is always great, so I would have my model look at me, but I slightly will angle the camera up. What that allows is to see more of the lash. If you're angled down on them, it's actually gonna hide the lashes. You won't see as much in the photo. So typically, I like my model to look straight, and then I'll angle up a little so the lashes look their longest length. And sometimes I'll take it from the side to get that profile curl look. But you just want to make sure you're not shooting down on them from this position, or their lashes kind of disappear with the angle and the lighting. I typically will take a wider shot, and then I zoom it in on my favorite eye, because there's always, no matter what, one eye that just looks more perfect than the other. So I usually zoom it in, but by zooming into one eye, you can really see the detail of the lash work if that's what you're trying to show. And then I typically would bring it into Lightroom, where I would maybe whiten the eyes or just clarify it, maybe play with the colors a little bit, give it a little more contrast. By pushing up the contrast, you'll see more of the dark lashes. And then I might smooth the skin if there's anything like wrinkles or discoloration that's distracting. But I really don't play too much with the eye area, because I don't want it to be distracting or fake looking or blur out the actual detail of the lash work. And then typically from there, I send it to Melissa, so then she can kind of tell you what she does, her process is to get an Instagram ready.
So basically when I edit, if she doesn't do any of her editing, sometimes
I'm lazy.
Yeah, sometimes I'll take that over, and I basically do very similar things, but I usually do it all on my phone. I have Photoshop on my phone, I have Facetune. I just really try to do everything as lightly as possible, smooth everything out, but not make it look fake. And then with Facetune, they have in the eye section, which is really cool. You can fix any rings in it, make the eyes a little brighter, whiter, anything. And then for the overall lighting of the photo, I basically just lighten and brighten as much as possible without making it with too much exposure. And then I make everything a little cooler, on the cooler side, just to match basically like our aesthetic and match our branding. And yeah, that's kind of it.
So basically we don't use a lot of preset filters.
Yeah.
I know a lot of Instagram models and stuff. I know our clients that are Instagram models will have their own set of filters. Well, we don't use preset filters. We keep it pretty natural. And then we try to have similar tones, so it's not like distracting. So in other words, like your pictures shouldn't be like so vastly different from each other that there's no continuity and there's no flow to your grid. One app we love to use to plan out our Instagram in particular is Planoly. Am I saying that right? Planoly. It allows us to design the grid so we can make sure our grid has nice flow. The worst is having a bunch of great pictures, but they all kind of compete against each other. So we find it's more appealing to have some like, I guess, white background or some less busy pictures in between the busier pictures to kind of break it up.
It's really important when it comes to Instagram to be aesthetically pleasing, because when someone visits your page, you want to make sure that it looks nice, it's your brand, and that people are like, I honestly just get a good feeling when they visit your page, and that might sound weird, but it totally matters. And then with Planoly, it's just nice because I can plan all of our photos for like a month ahead and not really have to worry about it every day. I plan our captions, hashtags, location tags, any people like influencers or the lash artists that we want to tag as well, and it just uploads it for us at whatever time or day we want, or if you want to plan multiple in a day. It's really, really, really helpful.
We'll put the link below if you guys want to check out the app. I think it does cost something, but it's not expensive. I think it's like $30 or something like that.
Maybe. And I think it's only because we have 2 users on it. Me and her can both look at it so she can see what I'm posting and fix anything that we want to fix, and it's just easier with 2 eyes instead of 1. But I think when you first download it, it's free.
It's free. The other app I use for not Instagram, but for everything else basically, is called Social Pilot. It's where, again, it lets you automate your posting for, Facebook pages, Twitter, LinkedIn,
does everything.
Google pages. So
Pinterest too, right?
Pinterest. Yeah. So basically everything that's not Instagram, they don't have the Instagram API. I can do that in bulk. And it really saves time as a business owner to spend like 1 day a week posting all the pictures, or 1 day a month doing a month's worth of marketing, so that I'm in the room with my clients most of the time and I'm not playing on my phone all day.
No, it's so helpful planning ahead. It really is. It saves our lives. So.
And lastly, we should talk about angles, because I totally forgot to talk about what angles I like to get.
Yes.
So typically, for me as a lash business, I like to show my artists the patterns or the lash mapping, but I'm not sure that's as important to your customers. But if you want to show lash mapping, I typically will take that picture from the top side. So, when my client's still laying with a gel pad sometimes, because the white will make the lashes show a little more, I will get an overhead shot from here showing the mapping. For your customers, you might rather see like the whole face or zoom in on the eye. I really like to zoom in on one eye, so I usually take the picture further away and then figure out which lash is more perfect, because there's always one a little more perfect. And then I'll zoom in so you can really see the detail. If you're too far out, you can't see the detail in the lash work. That may not be as important to your clients. If you're the lash spa, they might just want to see the before and after. But for me, we want to show our artists the actual mapping, the artistry, the detail. So we like to zoom in, and I think it gives a really pretty aesthetic. If you are doing a before and after, one tip is make sure you have similar settings on the image. So you want to edit them together in Lightroom or Photoshop, and then crop them. So it's distracting if the before or the after is a different light setting, and it looks like a different place and time.
Yeah.
So you want the images to be pretty similar in temperature and brightness. But for angles, you know, I like to do the straight on angle. Usually I'll have my model look straight at me, and then I'm going to angle slightly up. By doing that, I can see more of the actual lash. If I'm coming down on her, it actually doesn't show as much of the lashes. It kind of hides them. So I angle slightly up, not like straight up, but slightly up so I see more of the lash. And the client would look straight on. I don't have them look up or down because it just looks like unnatural to me and like a little weird. You also don't want them like bug-eyed into the camera. So typically if they look at you or a little past you, you can get a good straight on shot. Also, it's kind of weird if the client's like mug shot straight into the camera. So typically if they just tilt their head a little bit or gives a little slight angle, it's more pleasing as a pulled out shot. And then sometimes I like to take it from the side so I get that profile that shows the curl or the actual length of the lash, because straight on sometimes that's missed. So those are the angles. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate those now. So I'll have you lay down. So typically for this angle, I would be behind her and I'm set on auto, and I'm just going to adjust it until I come into focus. And I usually take it overly bright and then I can adjust it. So, and I usually take it a little further out than I know I want to crop in, just because it gives me room to play with the dimensions and the zoom. So that's the first angle. I'll have you sit back up. So I'll have you look straight at me, and I'm going to angle up slightly. And I will post these photos, or we'll insert them so you guys can see. Pretty. And then lastly, the side profile. So I'll have her turn. And I love this shot because I can actually not only see the lashes on this side, but the lashes on the other side of her face. And it really shows the length. So there you have it. We hope these tips are very basic, but we hope they can help anyone with no photography skills get some great content for their social media posts and to show off their artistry. Because the worst thing is having done beautiful work and then your picture looks janky and you're not getting any business from that. So thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys next Wednesday. Remember to subscribe, like, comment. We love it all.